Hello there guys, long time no speak. So from my last video we created that kind of weird bass. It didn't really quite work out how I expected it to. The technique with the sampler sort of all rearranging the loop points and things like that is meant to create a lot more of a sort of twisted sound and sort of a lot of more variation than it actually did. I think someone put it quite eloquently in the comments. You change one fart noise to a slightly different fart noise, which, you know, I'm inclined to agree with the guy. So instead of using one of these other basses, which I said I was going to use, what we're going to do is create a whole new bass from scratch. Sorry, this is what they sounded like. So those are from my massive pack. So we're going to load up an instance massive and create a completely new patch. What I'm going to do with this patch is bounce out a load of different filter movements and things like that, so we can create the variation by ourselves without having to rely on a random technique like sampler manipulation. Alright, so I'm starting in C2 there. I've got an initialized patch. I'm going to start with a carbon oscillator. And I'm going to modulate it between those points there. Just with a slow modulation like that. Just for it, it's kind of nasty, I quite like that. Next oscillator I'm going to use is a lunacy. And set it to bend plus. And I'm going to use a phaser on that oscillator to make it nice. And I'm also going to modulate the pitch just slightly with an LFO. So that's it. It morphs quite a lot already. That's quite nice. I'm going to put a square oscillator down 12 semitones. See where this sounds up a bit. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to turn down the square wave. What I was doing then was just pitching it up to see how much power I'm losing. Not too much. Right, that's sounding good. Bit of feedback always nasties up the sound quite nicely. It's quite a textured sound, so I'm going to add in the noise oscillator some paper. Just for some extra mid-range movement. I'm going to use a parabolic shaper next to create a bit of nasty distortion. The default position for the parabolic shaper is just after filter 1, which we're going to be using for the movement. In fact, we may as well just route these to filter 1. Which is good. Often I'd put the insert 1 here before filter 1, and the reason for that is so you can distort before it goes to the filtering, because then you get some nice resonance and things like that. but I'm going to be using. I'm making this to the view to it being sort of a very kind of nasty sound. So I want to distort after the filter, just so it distorts the resonance that we introduce at each side of the filter cutoff of a band reject filter. That was creating nasty sounds. I'm going to use a classic tube next. I'm going to take this up an octave, see what it sounds like. Much better. I'm going to go back and add in the parabolic shaper again. It's much nicer and textured. I'm going to add a phaser for a bit more sort of thin movement. Actually, I'm going to add a dimension expander just so it's a few more voices perhaps. This is obviously just going to be a freaking nasty sound. I'm not looking for sort of, you know, nice harmonic content here. I'm just looking for nastiness. I'm going to add a band reject filter, turn down the resonance slightly and the bandwidth. And to this band reject, I'm going to add in an envelope and just move it around and see what effects I can get. Right, that's quite cool. I'm going to go into the oscillator section and give it a pretty massive pitch bend so you can create some nasty pitch bends. Alright, so now the basis of this sound is created. It's fucking ridiculous. I'm going to start bouncing out some examples. So I just want to create a MIDI clip. I'm just going to add in an F note. 4 bars is way too long, we're not going to be bouncing down that much, because most of the articulation of this sound is right at the beginning. So I'm just going to put this to resample, solo that out, hit record here, and bounce it out. Check it's peaking at the right place. Yeah. Cool. Sound number 1 done. Back up, change the filter settings, see what else we can make. So this is going to be a bit random now, just adding in an LFO, make it a bit quicker maybe. It's quite cool. Record that. Oh, actually, there's a bit at the end there which sounds really good and I missed. Numero dos. Change this all around a bit. I'm going to add the same envelope to the amp of LFO 5. Make it more drastic. Just so it changes over time. Cool. Get rid of the LFO, create the filter the cut-off movement from the other side. I like that articulation start. It's quite cool. Okay, I'm going to change this to unsynced and add an LFO to the rate, see what that does. Right, so as you can see, we're building up some sort of different speeds of modulation, things like that. The end product of this is going to be having, instead of having the same sound recurring every bar or whatever in an 8-bar bass loop, we're going to be able to put in a slightly different version of that same sound. What that'll do is mean the listener stays interested. I mean, if I'm going too fast here, don't worry about it too much. If you want this patch, just join up to my Facebook page at facebook.com/Askian Productions, and you know, just ask me. I'm an approachable guy. I'll send you the patch. Right, I like this, but it sounds it sounds like the cutoff or something's a bit too low. Or maybe the bandwidth's too high. Right, you guys are probably getting bored now, so I'm going to delete this. No, I'm not, because I said I would give you the guys the patch. So I'm just going to save that and call it I don't know, what should I call it? Tutorial patch. Now I'll delete it. Alright, so we've got all these nasty blokes. I'm going to do something similar to in the first bass, whereby I'm going to split the frequencies and affect each frequency band slightly differently. So I'm going to go ahead and call this low, this mid, and this high. I'm not going to do too much to this because it already sounds pretty nasty. There we go, we've got the name for it. So I'm going to add in my presets of auto filter. Low to the lows, mid 1 and 2. Oh, you can't do that. Never mind. Join me in part 2 and we'll carry on splitting the frequencies, adding some effects, and see what we get by the end of it. Cheers.